Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
But tell me, Eddie, is that a rabbit in your pocket or you're just happy to see me?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the inaugural live stream that I will be doing. Planning on doing at least most every Friday during the month. So I'm going to try to add some more solo streams, and it is the first stream on my brand new live channel. I'm kind of toying with ideas for names, and I kind of, like, for the time being, I'm calling it Down and Nerdy because we're basically going to get down and nerdy with topics of the week, and I'm going to try to include as many positive topics as possible because I don't really like talking about a lot of cringe shit, especially since Saturdays we have Talk Nerdy to Us, like both like on my channel and on my Nerdy Homes channel and so forth, and that generally covers cringe, as well as also up until now, and I think like moving forward, I'll be having this live stream on this channel as well. But the Cringe Factory, literally named the Cringe Factory because it goes into cringe. But there it is, yeah, and that is my regular channel. Yes, once I have to get 100 subscribers and wait 30 days before I can create a custom URL for this, and that's going to be my plan. So once that kind of like goes into motion, I'm going to have it so that way it's like easier to find, even like as far as a URL link and so forth. But welcome, thank you all. Whoever's like able to do, like, at least right now, live hanging out with me as I go through some topics. And I hope you enjoy the replay, and I'm going to try to build up this channel as much as possible. I doubt very seriously I'll get monetization like in the near future, really, at all. But I'm going to be working at it. Like I said, live streams from here on out will be on this channel, with the exception of Talk Nerdy to Us. That will remain on my main channel. Right now, that is that one stream is going to remain on my main channel, but the rest of them, Cringe Factory, Top 10 discussions, and this one that I'm going to be soloing, pretty much will be from here on out on this channel. So if you have any suggestions, I'm like more than open to them. This is basically like my first stream, not my first actual live stream, but my first live stream on this channel. So I'm kind of like just wading through, throwing off the training wheels, and figuring shit out as I go along. But see from the top, Teresa. Hello, Teresa. Good to see you. Trey, what's up? And Jacob. Awesome to see you guys. And I'll be welcoming you all, like, the more start rolling in. And how it's going to work, just to give you like a little idea, is when the articles I go into, I will be focused primarily on reading them, going through them, mainly because I'm going to try possibly clipping them out and posting them as videos on my main channel. So I'm not ignoring the chat. I'm not ignoring the chat at all when I do that. Did yours show what, Biggles? You know what, Biggles? Hold on. I go over on the YouTube side. I'm not sure what you mean, like, did mine show, but you're now a mod. So it hates Harambe. Oh, okay. Probably an auto mod, but I made you a mod, so no, I made you a mod, so hopefully, like, you should have like no worries from here on out, Pickles. All right, but the normal Harambe war cry, yes, and I know what that is pretty much. Well, I mean, depending on whom you ask, it's either tits out for Harambe or dicks out for Harambe. I'm not going to king shame, depends on which way you swing, but there it is. But yeah, that must have been an auto mod, Biggles, because I did not see it on StreamYards nor the YouTube side, so that's where they got you. Yes. But anyway, like I was saying, what I'm going to be doing is when I bring up an article and I go through it, I'm going to be focusing on reading that and giving my opinion as I go through. I'm not ignoring the chat. I will catch up to the chat after I read the article, but the plan is to try and possibly clip out certain articles and post them as videos on my main channel. And to do that, I kind of can't be interacting with the chat as I'm going through the articles. So I'm just letting you all know. So I don't want you to think that I'm in any way avoiding talking to you all or anything like that. There you go. See, I see it now. See, there it is. You're now a mod, so it should work. And you know what, Jacob? I'm going to make you a mod as well. Started making people mods on at the back end and on the stream itself. So, because you're like a regular, you're a big supporter, Jacob, and I'll mod you over here as well. But anyway, so I'm going to try in the near future. What I might do, depending on the time I have, is I might talk about a possibly positive article on bounding into comics. And that is the Ghost of Tsushima director open and wanting to do a live action adaptation with an all Japanese cast, basically making it subtitled. And I'm pretty much all for that. But I did not read the article, so I'm not sure what it's going to actually go into necessarily. But if I have time, so I'm going to try to keep these about an hour long total, since I'm soloing it. We'll see what time I have. But the topic for this evening, and that is my Twitch. Yes, I'll be live tonight on this channel, on Twitch, Jade_Fire. Plan is right now playing Sea of Thieves with Wicked and Mando. So come check that out about 7:30 p.m. Eastern, depending on when I get stuff done. But the topics I have for this evening, I have a gem from the gamer about the Nexus mods. And for those who don't know what's going on with the Nexus mods, a mod went in to the Spider-Man game. A Spider-Man modder went into the game and changed the pride flags to American flags. God fucking forbid. But we're going to go into a little perspective from the gamer about that. I'm not going to necessarily entirely judge Nexus. They are trying to position themselves as being in the middle. So regardless of your right leaning or left winging or so forth, they're going to, if you do anything against whatever policy they have, they're going to ban you. So on one hand, to play devil's advocate, on one hand, if that is true, I do respect that. So that is fair, regardless across the board. However, I want to ask the Nexus mods, or not Nexus. I want to ask Nexus. All right, let's say this mod went in to the game and changed the American flags to, let's say, the Confederate Army flags from the Civil War. Would that be against your policy? Because you're all about inclusion. So would you be outraged at that? Would you be outraged if they changed the American flags to, let's say, a communist flag? Would you be outraged at that? Would you accept that? Or would you ban that modder? So is it only touching the pride flags? Or is it just the mod in general and how it's like it swings one way or another? Is that your issue? That would be my question. Before I even overtly defend what Nexus is doing, that's what I want to know from them. That's my question to them. If this happened, if those two scenarios that I just outlined happened, would you ban that modder as well? Or is it just the fact that they touched the pride flag? And that's where the inclusivity is, in your perspective. Because you want to make sure that you pat yourselves on the back and virtue signal to the crowd that is all about cancel culture, and you don't want to make sure that you have your backs, basically save your proverbial bacon. Don't have your backs to the wall, and whatever cliche expression is out there. So yes, American flag mod at that, and then you have a Screen Rant article that Lethal Lightning shared a screenshot to. How the Prey movie's Predator changes to the Predator saved the franchise. So they're going into that perspective that, the franchise was on the precipice of falling into an abyss, pretty much, and Prey pretty much saved it. Now, I'm not going to exactly say that it was on a good trend necessarily, because we all remember the Predator and how universally despised that is, pretty much. However, to claim that the Predator and Prey saved the franchise harkens back to a lot of these show articles that popped up pretty much in defense of, and I know I'm going to trigger Raging Rhino out there pretty much, but in defense of Lucasfilm's handling of Star Wars, in particular Kathleen Kennedy, and how she and Lucasfilm saved Star Wars once that came into her hands and out of George Lucas's, pretty much. And then, this is in no particular order, but I would have normally, if this had been on my main channel, would have normally shown the clip going around on Twitter, where the Hulk is trying to lead and guide She-Hulk into, like, controlling her anger and so forth, and why it's important and everything, and how she schools him, literally schools him in the clip, about how, well, I already know all about that because of all the shit I had to go through as a whammon, pretty much. That, like, she's schooling the Hulk. The same Bruce Banner, the same man, Hulk, who witnessed his father, his father murders his mother. He tried to commit suicide. The Hulk prevented him from doing that. He was, like, hunted down by the government, stranded on another planet, watched friends of his die in the snap and so forth, and she's going to school him on, like, well, I already know about this. I already know about this because I have the power of the uterus, and so you don't have to explain things to me. That's what she's pretty much doing in the clip, and normally I would play that, but since this is the first stream on my live channel and I'm not monetized, I really don't want to get a claim right off the bat. So I found an article, cringe as it is, going into trying to explain why she's able to Hulk out with ease, a lot more ease than Bruce Banner, pretty much. So I see more people showed up in the chat. Yeah, BLM flag is probably fine, pretty much. Thin blue line flag, yeah. As I was saying, like, if it had been any other flag, let's say if they'd taken the American flag that was existing, like, forget the pride flag, but the American flags around New York, and they changed it to a Confederate flag, a communist flag, thin blue line flag, or a BLM flag, would they have been as outraged as they were over the mod or changing the pride flag to an American flag? That would be my question. That would be my question to them. Now, I didn't save anything, which is an average movie that surprised people. It was pretty much down the middle for me as far as average. I give it like a 5.5, 5.5. Not complete shit like The Predator, but sure as hell not as great as people are making it out to be. But at the same time, it's like, I'm not going to judge you necessarily. If you love the movie, if you love Prey, more power to you. Or, like, that's the beauty of opinions. That's the beauty of opinions. All right. They're all different. They're all subjective. It's like no one is going to be the same necessarily as the other. But you can't have differences now in opinion anymore to these far left, in particular, ideologues. Now, I just to give you a perspective of my politics, I hate extremism on both sides, pretty much. I think both sides are pretty much fucked at the extremities of the political spectrum. That's just my opinion. So no matter where you fall, either extreme left or extreme right, I'm going to call you out, pretty much. That's how I am. It just so happens that a lot of the fucking idiocy just seems to happen on the extreme left. So, I'm saying, he tried to kill himself and the Hulk stopped him. The Hulk stopped him from being able to do it. So it's like this guy, so it's like silly man trying to school the woman, pretty much. But hey, Heath Nation, good to see you. Yeah, cat calling and all that shit. Orange Chat, here you go. Orange Chat. When I see, there you are. I'm adding mods that were already mods on my main channel now to my live channel, so you should be a mod as well, Orange Chat. But good, everyone. Thank you all for showing up to the stream. Hope I'm at least entertain you as much as possible. And again, to the new ones in the chat, when I go through articles, I will be over on the article side, so I'm not going to exactly be interacting with the chat while I go through the article, mainly in the pretense, should I clip it out and post it as a video on my YouTube channel, I can't be going back and forth, interacting with the chat necessarily. Hey, Geekbled, I'm working right now. Well, you're a mod too. So hey, but anyway, all right, so what I figure out I'll do, they're all cringe. They're all cringe in a way, so it's not really like one over the other, but how about we go into She-Hulk? That seems to be the big topic of discussion, and before I get into that, I'm going to take a swig of water. And I did not want to play the clip and get claimed on my brand new live channel, so I'm going to go into this gem, and I'll show you here. Technically, it's on MSN, but it's a Collider article that MSN shares. Here it is, folks. Let me just zoom in a little bit for you guys. So, She-Hulk attorney at law explains why Jennifer Walters can Hulk out so easily. So, never mind Bruce Banner tried to kill himself. Never mind that his father murdered his mother. Never mind that he saw many of his, not just colleagues from the Avengers, but friends die in the snap, so to speak. Never mind that he was stranded on other planets and so forth. Never mind that he was hunted down by the government. No. She-Hulk Attorney at Law explains why Jennifer Walters can Hulk out so easily. And why can she Hulk out so easily? Well, it's the power of the uterus, pretty much. The power of the uterus, and what she's going to do is basically smash the patriarchy in her little rant against, at least, and not against, but explaining, wham-explaining to Bruce Banner why she doesn't need him to guide her at all. Like, she's used to it. She's used to having to control her anger, and here's why. So this will contain spoilers, so if you have not seen episode 1 and are planning on watching episode 1, avoid this. But at the same time, I think most people pretty much either don't care about spoilers or are not going to watch the period based on what they've been seeing so far. So I'm just going to go right into this, so you have time to stop this if you so choose. The first episode gets down to business. Writers and protagonist Jennifer Walters, played by Tatiana Maslany, know that viewers are itching to learn her origin story. How does everyday lawyer Jennifer become She-Hulk? Well, most Marvel fans, those at least who are fans of Hulk, never really got into the Hulk series, but know her origin story, and that is that she was shot. She's a lawyer. She was shot by a criminal, okay, and near death. Bruce Banner, her cousin, chose to give her a blood transfusion, knowing the risk that giving transfusing his blood into her, would risk her contracting the gamma radiation that he has that turns him into Hulk. But it's a risk he had to take, because if he didn't, she would have likely died. So we know her origin story, at least how she initially becomes Hulk. But this is the Disney Plus origin story, and in this one, from what I know from the clips, she pulls Bruce Banner, this tiny ass fucking woman, pulls Bruce Banner out of the wreckage of the car, the accident that they get into. So it's a car accident. All right. And somehow blood from his cuts get onto her cuts, even though it's shown that that's not how it fucking works. That's not how it works. That's what turns her into She-Hulk. But anyway, so they have a road trip, ends in a car accident, leading her to becoming the second Hulk in the MCU. The MCU, pretty much as it is right now. Bruce is ready to support her through this difficult transition, since he has been the Hulk for over a decade. Yeah, over a decade. So yeah, I think he would know a thing or two, right? Except Jennifer doesn't need much help from him. So unlike her cousin Bruce, Jennifer takes to her new persona like a duck to water. Barring her first two transitions when she blacks out, she not only is conscious in Hulk form, but she can change with ease. This is part of Jennifer's comic book storyline as well, but in the show, head writer and creator Jessica Gao provides a realistic reason behind this difference between the cousins. All right. So what is this reason between the cousins? What is this difference? All right. So Bruce Banner's journey in Incredible Hulk in the MCU has a common thread. Once he was infected with a lethal dose of gamma radiation, his emotions, especially his anger and his fear, would trigger the Hulk alter ego. And as Bruce revealed in the Avengers, he is always angry, which helps him kind of keep control of the Hulk. This is why for nearly a decade, Bruce has battled with the Hulk for control over his body till he was able to merge the two into Smart Hulk. This is the only experience Bruce knows, and he's immediately protective and overbearing when it comes to Jennifer's encounter with gamma radiation. Well, yeah, no fucking shit, because it's gamma radiation, so you want to make sure that this is something to fucking kill her. And two, the fact that she's able to control her emotions. It would be the same if she was a male, but no, because she's a woman, he's mansplaining, pretty much. Okay, he knows what it's like to have his life turned upside down by the transformation, but he's also aware of the dangers that a rampaging Hulk can inflict on the world. So it's taken more than 10 years for Bruce to find a semblance of peace with his two sides in a way that not only keeps the world safe, but actively aids in protecting it. As Jennifer's cousin, it's clear Bruce believes it's his duty to ensure Jennifer fast forwards through the worst parts of being a Hulk, and one can't blame him for wanting the fellow Hulk companion, seeing how lonely he has become. We can't fault Bruce for his assumptions about how Jennifer will react to being She-Hulk, but as it turns out, Jennifer is nothing like Bruce. Her genetics are different and better. Though that's not the only reason her transformations are easier. As Jennifer explains to Bruce, the triggers for hulking out are anger and fear, and these are the baseline of any woman just existing. Baseline of any woman just existing. She and the majority of women have to contain their emotions on a near constant basis. Fuck you. Fuck you. No, we don't. Anybody who watches my videos knows that's not the case. Knows that's not the case. I do not at all sugarcoat anything I say. I am blunt. I just happen to be a woman. We don't have to contain our emotions on a near constant basis. And if you have to contain your emotions, maybe you are just a fucking bitch. You ever think about that? Maybe you are just a bitch. I mean, really? The episode starts with Jennifer rehearsing her closing argument for a big case, only for her annoying colleague, oh shocker, it's a man, to talk during it and second guess whether he could be taking Jennifer's place. Jennifer and her paralegal, Nikki Ramos, joke about it, but do not confront him because, as Jennifer explains to Bruce, any show of anger will have her labeled as emotional, difficult, or get her killed. Yeah, because that's a motivation. I mean, hell, no, well, some motivations for people actually committing murder are as stupid as that. However, for her to equate her getting emotional to the point of her getting killed because of that, that's a really big fucking stretch. All right? Anyone who has to put up with Dennis's snarky put-downs is far more zen than Bruce could ever be, and that's just one person Jennifer has to deal with in her profession. Physical safety is also another problem for many women. Jennifer cites being catcalled on the street as one of the incidents when she has to keep her emotions in check. That's not physical safety. Are they leches? Yeah. Are they degenerates? Possibly. But that does not mean she's like that is in connection to her physical fucking safety. All right? Most men catcall most women. They don't exactly just narrow in on certain types. Unless they're ugly, unless they're like land whales. In which case they don't catcall them unless they have that kink. But still, that's not a physical safety problem. Catcalls, that's the big villain now in the MCU. In the She-Hulk premiere, after her first transformation, Jennifer wanders into a bar to clean up and is immediately greeted by a group of women who practically fall over themselves trying to help her because she's in distress. It's such a heartwarming celebration of sisterhood, but it's juxtaposed with the subsequent scene when a group of men starts crowding around Jennifer instead of leaving her alone. All right, you tell them to fuck off. All right, you tell them to fuck off, pretty much. Jennifer even uses the classic line about seeing her boyfriend waiting for her even though she's single. Of course, then she hulks out and scares the men, how the tables turn, but the average person can't do that. These are moments that a lot of women will identify with, and introducing these elements to Jennifer's story makes her origin story that much more relatable and interesting. Aside from the emotional balancing act Jennifer has to navigate, she's also living quite a relatable existence. She has a fortune to pay in student loans, a family that doesn't quite understand her, and she is still smiling in spite of it. So yes, it's no wonder being Hulk is so easy for her. All right? I'm not going to get into the rest of this article, but there it is. There it fucking is. So, power of the uterus, folks. The power of the uterus is now infiltrated and leached onto the MCU. Is now the MCU firmly now, because if it wasn't the case before, it certainly is now. So, while Hulk smashes the actual villain, She-Hulk is going to smash misogyny. Fucking hell. Jesus Christ. So what are you all saying? Oh my god. Yeah, Collider's still around. Yeah, they're still around. He lost Black Widow. Yeah, he lost Black Widow. Wasn't a fan of that coupling either. Women are anger monsters. Got it. Yeah, pretty much. They're walking anger monsters. They're walking anger monsters because we have to deal with catcalls. We have to deal with toxic masculinity. We have to deal with, quote unquote misogyny and sexism and so forth. As well as if we show any emotion, we'll be labeled as emotional or whatever. So we have to. So we are better than our male counterparts because of all that. Meanwhile, reality says otherwise. So, like I said, just ignore the guy. Wait, like most women, just ignore the catcalls on the streets. Most women just tell men in a bar just to fuck off. We make it clear that we're not into them, pretty much. And women like me, we're not afraid to show our emotions. We just know how to show our emotions, but we're not afraid to show them. That's the difference. Because there's a difference between showing your emotions and looking like an entitled bitch versus showing your emotions and actually being assertive. That's the difference. There's a difference. There's a fine line between being assertive, right, and being arrogant, right? And women like this, feminists, third wave and fourth wave feminists, swan dive over that line. And instead of taking responsibility, you know that phrase they love to tell us, pretty much take responsibility. Instead of doing that, they blame everyone else. They blame everyone else for it, and I'm quite frankly getting sick of it. I checked out of the MCU. Following Doctor Strange, the first Doctor Strange movie, because at that point for me, it's not so much that the movies themselves were necessarily terrible, but they were formulaic. I felt like I was watching the same movie, just taking the general outline, tweaking things here and there, and trying to advertise it as a different movie in the MCU. And I just checked out. Never seen catcalling in real life. Not really me either. As far as catcalling, not really. Guys have tried asking me what my name is, walking on the street and so forth, but not catcalls. It's really not as prevalent as they like to make it out to be. It's not this boogeyman hiding behind corners in dark alleys or underneath the bed. Pretty much, it is a rarity. But they turn it into like I said, the boogeyman that they have to fight. But it's not real. It's not real. They won't admit it though. But there it is. That's why she hulks out so easily. Is because women have to deal with this shit on a constant basis. You men out there, you have no idea what we women are going through. So move aside, Bruce Banner. All right, move aside, Hulk. She-Hulk is out there, and she's going to smash the patriarchy. There it is. There it fucking is. This is all I can do right now. Anybody defending the MCU or trying to make it out that it's not the MCU now, it's like She-Hulk is pretty much swan dived into that territory. Now it's full on MCU. Even in Endgame, they were setting up A-Force in a way with that when the female superhero's biological clock synced in that one women power scene when they're fighting Thanos. There it is. I'm going to close that tab. Like, if you want to watch this, more power to you. If you like watching it to review or whatever, more power to you. I'm not going to watch it. I'm not watching She-Hulk. I checked out of Marvel a long time ago. I'm not even watching any Star Wars shows. I checked out of that a long time ago as well. The only thing I'm really talking about right now is Rings of Power, and that's because I want to make sure that whatever lies and falsehoods the showrunners and so forth want to perpetuate, I call them out on that. So that's the reason why I follow that topic. As far as watching it, most likely not. Yeah. And this is like in just the first episode. Just the first fucking episode. Or whatever. It's like early on. So it's not even really into the series. It's not like they didn't even try to hide it. It's there, pretty much. It's right fucking there. And I'm confident there's going to be more She-Hulk stuff to talk about on Talk Nerdy to Us tomorrow. But there it is. Folks. So let's just go from, that was on the far right. Let's just go over to the left a little bit. We're going to talk about Prey. Daredevil will save it. I see your comment over there, Trey. I don't think he'll even save it. Maybe to an extent, he might make it a bit more palatable. But that depends on how Daredevil will be portrayed. And if this is the road that She-Hulk's going down, I doubt very seriously it's going to be a good portrayal of Daredevil. And that's going to be such a fucking shame, because I think Daredevil is an underrated superhero. Mainly because we have the Ben Affleck movie to go off of. Is like the one movie adaptation other than the Netflix show. But now Disney Plus has it, and they're going to be airing some more episodes, and I'm like, I don't trust them at all. Pretty much, I don't trust that at all. Yeah, I'm saying MCU stands will say that, no doubts. Or at the very least, they'll try to educate us on how we don't know the characters. That's what they'll do. That's what they'll do. Hey, David. Okay. Just covered a She-Hulk article. That was painful to go through. And for those like new tuning in, when I go through articles, I don't interact with the chat. I'm basically going to be going through them and giving my 2 cents just in case I should decide to clip out any of the articles I'm going through as a separate video for my main channel. But let's talk about how Prey movie's Predator saved the franchise. Screen Rant is going through this. All right. Now, if you like this movie, more power to you. I was middle of the road with it, primarily 5.5. It wasn't complete shit, but it wasn't as amazing as people were making it out to be, in my humble opinion. It was middle of the road for me. I was not a fan of the Predator. I was not a fan of the female lead. Not because she was woke at all necessarily, although there were moments here and there throughout the movie where it did touch on wokeness with her character, particularly the axe throwing or tomahawk throwing scene, as well as her running around on what should have been a very, very injured ankle from getting caught in a bear trap. But for the most part, her character was just boring, one-dimensional, no charisma whatsoever from the actress. The only one that I was even remotely interested in was the brother. He went out like a boss. Spoiler alert. He went out like a boss, but he had charisma to him. He had personality to him, and I wanted to follow him. I'm like, hey, can you make him the main character? But no, we had to follow a female lead. And now Screen Rant's coming out to say that Prey, movie's Predator changes, saved the franchise. So Prey introduces some much-needed change to the Predator franchise, which has been slowly declining since its smash hit debut in 1987. While not a lot of people necessarily are fans of the sequel, Predator 2, you would be hard-pressed to find anyone out there saying that it was necessarily shit compared to the first movie. Most people are kind of like myself, where they like both. They enjoy both. They'll argue one is maybe better than the other, but for the most part, they are both enjoyable. Predators, I would even argue, is subjectively more enjoyable than Prey, even though I have my issues with that as well, and we don't speak of the Predator, pretty much. But anyway, so let's see what they Screen Rant, how they defend Prey and how it somehow saved the franchise. Remember that little phrase that was going around about how Lucasfilm saved Star Wars, Kathleen Kennedy saved Star Wars from the precipice of falling into abyss? That's what this appears to be, pretty much. Like, it was going into an abyss, it was going to die off, but then Prey swooped in and saved the day. Here it is. Again, will contain spoilers for Prey if you've not seen it. Okay, 2022's Prey ended many of the Predator franchise's pre-established standards that had been in place since 1987's Predator, saving the once mighty franchise. Predator in the 87 starred action heavyweight Arnold Schwarzenegger and is beloved for its unrelenting action, campy 80s charm, and of course its villain, who became a cinematic staple. I would also argue that, yes, on the surface, it is unrelenting action and campy 80s charm, but below the surface, there's actually good, reasonable character development. If you look particularly at Arnold's character Dutch, all right, a lot of his tells are in facial depictions, pretty much, and how he looks at Dylan, how he analyzes the situation, how he realizes how the Predator sees, and thus he's uses brains and so forth. Like, he's not dumb at all. None of the characters really are dumb. They were just put up against something that they have never experienced before at all. Never experienced before. And you see, not necessarily an arc, but developing throughout the movie, that realization and so forth, particularly with Dutch's character, but it was a dying franchise. Predator's success meant that a sequel was inevitable, and while some Predator sequels have enjoyed healthy box office success, none had rated as highly as the original. Rarely do sequels ever do rate as highly as the original. The one argument two arguments you could probably say to that, or at least in defense of that, would be Aliens to Alien, even though I prefer Alien, and T2, Terminator 2 to Terminator, even though I prefer Terminator. Those sequels, I would understand your argument of rivaling the original. The Prey 2022 soft reboot marked an end to this. Here's why. Okay, Prey tales, Grant. Why? The original Predator simplicity is what made it a hit, among other things. The tale of a highly trained soldiers against an advanced alien hunter is intriguing, and it's up that the film pays off well. However, subsequent Predator franchise entries suffered from the inability to deviate from this plot in a meaningful way, with every future installment following the same outline. Since the 1987 hit, each film has followed a male hero who is the leader of a squad of soldiers or police officers, with the team in question killed off one by one before the final showdown, which sees the main hero victorious. Well, fucking shocker. All they did was gender swapped the main character, but it's still the same thing, necessarily. It still comes to a fucking final showdown. Despite all the Predator sequels otherwise bringing fresh ideas to the table, the franchise has struggled to move on structurally. The highly anticipated Prey 2022 release, it wasn't highly anticipated. Don't try to fucking spin it. It wasn't highly anticipated. It was very cautiously anticipated, but it wasn't highly anticipated. Whose name alone already indicated a change in direction for the franchise, was touted by franchise fans and critics alike as the first good Predator movie in years. Like I said, if you genuinely feel that way, more power to you. I, on the other hand, think it's average at best. It is average at best. There is nothing special to it at fucking all. Instead of repeating characters from previous installments, Prey gave a new point of view to the franchise with a unique set of characters from a less familiar time and place rather than the oft-repeated group of muscle-bound soldiers. They still could have done that, but they went out of their way to make the lead female. Now, I'm not saying necessarily that automatically makes it woke, but they went out of their way to make the lead a female character. Female characters are not the problem. It's the motivation behind them that's the issue. And that was the motivation, I would argue, with Disney's choosing to go that route. Because it is unique set of characters, like I said, could have followed the brother. He was a lot more charismatic than his sister, but they chose agenda, essentially, over characterization. And the fact that she was fucking dull as hell in her portrayal, but whatever, in my opinion. Alright, set 300 years ago in Comanche territory, Prey heroine Naru, played by Amber Midthunder, is a Comanche hunter trying to protect her tribe from a feral predator stalking the Great Northern Plains in 1719. She's not a hunter. She wants to be a hunter. That's her one-dimensional motivation, pretty much. The whole fucking movie is to be a hunter, because she wants to prove that she can, even though she has not done so at all. She wonders why people... She says to her mother, when her mother asks, why do you want to? And she says, because you all think I can't. Well, fucking bitch, you haven't proved otherwise. So no, you haven't proved otherwise that you can be a hunter, so guess fucking what, sweetheart? People think you can't be. Alright? If you want to prove them wrong, say they, the reason why you want to be a hunter is because you want to show that you can. Not that they think you can't. Ah. And she's not a hunter, she's a healer. That's her primary task in the tribe. She's a healer. Same as her mother. It was the first time an actress has led a Predator film, excluding Alien vs. Predator, which follows Sanaa Lathan as Alexa Woods. You can't say it's the first fucking time, because you just said excluding. So that was the first fucking time, Screen Rant, was Alien vs. Predator. So no, this is not the first time. You just nuked your fucking argument right there. You just nuked your point right fucking there. Bringing in a much-needed change for a franchise whose last 3 leads tried unsuccessfully to emulate the hulking, testosterone-driven characters of the original. I would not call Adrian Brody hulking, testosterone-driven. Maybe a little bit testosterone-driven, but not hulking. Certainly not hulking. He's a soldier. Guess what? They're going to be muscular. Surprise, fucking surprise. Alright? Amber Midthunder's Naru fighting the Predator was a crucial change, presenting a warrior who knew her surroundings but had a different fighting style, backstory, and motivations. Again, could have done that with her brother. Literally could have done that with her brother. So how it works in Prey's favor. While Prey's forest setting isn't a new idea for the franchise, the time period of the Prey 2022 soft Predator reboot is. Predator 2 established that Predators have a long history with humanity. But Prey is the first time that history is explored in a canon Predator timeline movie. I like how you say it's a movie, because that history was explored in what actually, as shared by my friend Stig via Gary Busey, there was canon. There was sort of an essentially expanded universe of sorts canon going into the owner of the musket Danny Glover's character gets at the end of Predator 2. Raphael Adolini, sorry. That actually technically is canon. And they changed that backstory for this movie. God forbid we have a strong male character that died with honor, and that's why the Predators have the gun. They're going to have to fucking explain how they ended up with that gun for Predator 2. They're going to have to explain that. All right? Prey's prequel setting also raises the stakes for Naru in terms of weaponry. The feral predator in Prey may not have the plasma cannon of other Predator movies, but it still has advanced alien gear, including a laser-guided bolt thrower. Naru is armed only with a bow, a stone axe inherited from her father, and her knowledge of the territory. As a result, the Comanche hunter is facing the feral predator with a period-accurate weaponry introduced an intriguing problem for the hero. That kind of also proved an intriguing problem for the heroes in the first Predator and as well as Predator 2 because those are period-accurate weaponry as well. The Predator still had advanced technology. So again, you're kind of nuking your own points. If you think about it, because there's no point there. Whereas all main human Predator characters have previously been armed to the teeth, Naru in Prey has a lot less by way of technology to help her win. However, the name Prey may alternatively have hinted toward the inexperienced Predator entering the lands of Comanche. Alright? Now, I kind of called this before the movie came out. I said, how much do you want to bet that the title itself is a subversion? And here, even Screen Rant's touching on that. And how the Predator is also the prey in a sense, because it's also far less experienced Predator. Though technologically inferior, the Comanche know the world around them and outnumber the alien invader, which in the end created an almost even matchup. Now, it wasn't exactly even. But here, I'm not going to go into the entirety of this article. They're nuking their points left and right. How the Prey movies Predator changes saved the franchise. A franchise that really arguably did not need saving. Save for the Predator. All right. I'm not saying the other movies were objectively good necessarily, but the franchise itself didn't exactly need saving. It wasn't on a precipice. It wasn't going to fall into some bottomless abyss or anything like that. It did not need saving, and sure as hell didn't fucking need one of the most boring leads in the Predator franchise to save, and that is the actress cast to play Naru. Like, put this in the bin. Make it again, but focus on her brother. He was a lot more fucking interesting. He went out like a fucking boss. And she somehow won by making the Predator hit itself. So, no, it didn't save the franchise. If anything, it was like a flash in the pan. So, that's all I can say for that, pretty much. That's all I can say for that. It is what it is. They're going to shill as they've never shilled before. No worries if I missed you. Mr. Bentham, hello. Sorry. Yeah, I'm going to be doing solo live streams on this channel. Hey, gaming. Good to see you. Still haven't watched Prey. Probably will in a few days. Girl Power. Like, the big thing is, like, she's not a Mary Sue. She's not what I would call a Mary Sue. Really by any stretch. There are moments, like I said, where it does touch on, like, a Mary Sue-ness. Hey, Drew Death. I just got done hosting a stream with Phil. Oh, on secondary channel. Nice. Okay. Awesome. They sent an actual blooded, and he kills the whole village with no issues at all. Yeah. Yeah, like, she's, like I said, like, there are moments where it does touch on, like, a Mary Sue-ness aspect to her character, but that's not the overarching issue with her character, is that, like, you know, like, kind of trade. She was dull. There really was no development. She still had a one-track mind throughout the entire movie. Not the entire movie. Proving to her tribe that she could be a hunter. And the line is because you all think I can't. And to that again I say, well, bitch, you haven't proved you can. So guess what they're gonna fucking think? They're gonna think you can't. And I agree with Trey. I think the Yaltra would have had a failsafe. Right? It was literally like equivalent to, why are you hitting yourself? Pretty much. That's how she defeats the Predator. That's how she defeated the Predator. Like, there was no superiority in her skills or anything like that, necessarily. She got lucky. Whereas Dutch in Predator actually had to use his brains, because he's realizing, I can't exactly fight this Predator as I would a normal human being. I actually have to utilize the world around me by creating his own traps and so forth, because the Predator can detect, whatever you want to call it, what they had originally. And now he has nothing. He had nothing when he was escaping the Predator. So he had to really go to the bare bones, the basics. That's more fucking impressive than what she did. And no fail-safe. No fail-safe with the Predator. And that's why, and that's why they blow themselves up, so that the humans can't get their technology. So this Predator would have had a fail-safe, and at the very least would have blown himself up when he realized he was losing, and taken her with them. But they sent the short bus Predator to this planet during this time. But anyway. Alright. So, again. Yeah. And I'm waiting for Mazda to do what Mazda does best, shall we say. Pretty much. It's like how Mazda has actually become a meme at this point, and Screen Rant's is proof of that. Proof of that. How this movie saved the franchise. Alright. So let's go into the last topic. It's from the gamer. Harrigan beat a Predator straight up. Yeah. Straight up. No traps necessarily. No, just straight up fight. But anyway. Let's share this last article. At least the cringe. We'll see how long this takes, and I might open up the Bounding in the Comics one to share with you guys. But if you've all been following the videos Lethal Lightning has put out on Geeks and Gamers Play, talking about the Nexus mod, a mod went in and turned the pride flags and changed the pride flags to American flags. To American flags. So after a modder replaced all the pride flags in game, Nexus mods banned them. More gaming communities should learn from it, because Nexus mods banned the homophobic Spider-Man modder, sets a benchmark for gaming. Who says that the modder was homophobic just because the modder changed the pride flags to American flags? Who says that person was homophobic? I mean, granted, New York is not exactly the bastion of normalcy now, but at the same time, it's not exactly uncommon to not see American flags on the city buildings. Same with any downtown area and so forth. See American flags. So how you're claiming that this modder is homophobic? You're judging this modder based on just changing the pride flags to American flags. God fucking forbid. But here it is. So Spider-Man being on PC was always going to bring out a whole host of mods. The Raimi trilogy is second only to the Star Wars prequels as the most memed movie series of all time. And the webhead has decades of comics, television shows, and films behind him. Within a few days of launch, you could already play as Uncle Ben's gravestone. But the talk of the town has been a very different mod. The removal of the pride flags in the game replaced by the stars and stripes. Yes, God fucking forbid, replaced by the stars and stripes themselves. The modder has now been banned, and Nexus itself has come out swinging. This is exactly how we need to react to these things. Really, that's why I'm asking. Nexus mods, I'm asking you, and I want a straight answer. You claim to, regardless of where you fall on the political spectrum, if you go against your policy, if a modder goes against your policy, you will come out swinging. However, I ask you, and I want you to be honest with me, if that modder had changed the American flags in the game to, shall we say, a Confederate flag, a communist flag, a BLM flag, a thin blue line flag, and so forth, any other flag, would that have been against your policy? Would that have been against your policy of inclusivity, or would that have been okay because it's just the stars and stripes, right? It's just the American fucking flag, right? Would that have been okay per your policy? Or is it just the fact that the pride flag was modded? Is that the real reason why? Nothing to do with your policy. Is that the real fucking reason why you're coming out swinging? Just so you don't get canceled? Any mods intended to deliberately be against inclusivity or diversity are not allowed. Which tells me that modder could have gone in and put a BLM flag where the American flags was, and you would have been okay with that. You would have been fucking okay with that. Even though it's not inclusive or diverse, necessarily. We don't want to and won't argue with you. We now claimed our stance, and we won't be providing a platform for you to distort our position in order to feed an irrational and paranoid narrative. You're kind of feeding that yourselves, Nexus. You can do that elsewhere, where we won't care enough to read it. If this policy upsets you, if we've broken some moral code of conduct as a business that you can't accept, then please delete your account and move on, as we will read the statement from Nexus. Basically, shut up. If not, then delete your account. There's no technicalities, there's no loopholes, there's no appeasements, no sense that action has been taken in this specific case, only due to public pressure. No attempt to get the world to join hands in harmony, no buzzwords, just a very simple goodbye. This is how it should be. So again, if the modder had changed the American flag in the game, the American flags in the game to any other flag, like say, like Confederate flag or communist, would you have been okay with that? If you love the Spider-Man game, but your enjoyment is stopped by a couple of pride flags that have no impact on the gameplay or story, you probably have some deep personal issues to break through and don't deserve to enjoy this game in the first place. Guess fucking what? It's a PC mod, which means those playing on PC don't have to have that mod included in the game. And if they choose to have the mod in the game, who the fuck cares? Who the fuck cares? So it's really up to the player. And you're taking it out of the player's hands by doing this. I know you think Nexus and the LGBT add as many letters as you think is funny, seasoned to taste. Well, you assholes are the ones adding so many fucking letters to it. Us normal people just want to stop at LGBT, but you want to add QIA plus and so forth. Are just triggered cucks who can't take one little mod, but check your pants. Yep, that's piss in there. You've done pissed yourself. Saw yourself a rainbow flag and just started pissing. Wait, you shit yourself as well? Ah, mate, don't cry. This is by Stacey Henley, folks, as one of the creme de la cringes from the gamer writers, pretty much. Just replace it with an American flag. That'll make it all better, buddy. America sees itself as a bastion of peace, freedom, and individuality, even as it repeatedly cedes to the right and rolls back the wheels of progress. So replacing a pride flag with the U.S. flag isn't an act of ironic artistic genius, or at least it would be if your underwear wasn't full of piss and shit. Newsflash. The irony is, it's the left that's trying to control speech. It's the left that doesn't let you have a different opinion. It's the far left that won't allow you to at all leave the plantation if you at all fall in the minority category. So don't sit there with the audacity to claim that it's only one side doing this, and at anything on the left at all is progress when we're seeing the complete fucking opposites. Spider-Man is not particularly progressive or inclusive. There's a gay flag, but no gay characters. Because that's all that matters to these people. Superficial qualities. It's so easy to just let this slide, and it's strangely hateful and childish that people can't. But I could say the same about Nexus mods. You're all triggered. Cute, but not exactly accurate. If there were an American flags in the game to begin with, there are, but if they were strictly where the pride flags are, nobody would have been triggered. And I love how they fucking just defeat every one of their fucking arguments. It's not the flags that are necessarily triggering us. And like I said, it's a mod. It's a mod. PC gamers can choose to use it or not. That's the difference. Nobody would care, all right? Yeah. It's the act of erasure that matters. LGBTQ. Now you're adding the plus. Now you're adding the Q plus. You were literally chastising people about adding different letters for being funny, and you're doing the same fucking thing. It's your side. Are often accused of rubbing their sexuality in people's faces just for existing. You do. You fucking do. But in Spider-Man, they don't exist. The flag is the smallest amount of inclusion possible, and still your pants are full of piss and shit. Then there's the copious praise the game gets for being realistic. We've all read the news, stories of people finding their apartment block in the game, or comparisons to real-life landmarks. Does anyone really want to argue that it's unrealistic for New York City to have a couple of pride flags here and there? You might as well take out the Statue of Liberty too, although as a symbol of America welcoming refugees in an era where immigrants are public enemy number one, not immigrants, illegal immigrants. And the fact that criminals, drug dealers, and cartels and so forth will actually use people immigrating into the United States to transport illicit drugs. So that's why we protect our borders. Otherwise, Stacey, if you have a fence in your yard, tear it down because that's a border. And you're all about welcoming refugees and immigrants, right? Let anybody into your house, right? Lady Liberty is just as ironic as a rainbow flag being painted red and white. Both my great-grandfathers who came to America saw the Statue of Liberty. Guess what each of them did? Came through legally. One tried coming through illegally, but he was sent back to Syria. And he didn't come back in and go about it illegally time and time again. No, he went through the proper channels. Same with the one on my dad's side. Went through the proper channels. So we don't have any fucking thing against immigrants. It's the ones that come in illegally, stay illegally, and reap benefits that are denied legal citizens. So fuck you, Stacey. Nexus mods have made the right call here, puffing out its chest and saying firmly that homophobes can go home. Gaming companies like to mince their words and hedge their bets, so it's cool to see one come out swinging. If you don't like it, change your pants. Well, I don't like you, Stacey. I don't like you. If I ever saw you on the street, if I found out what you look like, I would punch you in the tits. But there it is. There it fucking is. I still have the question to Nexus mods. If the modder had not changed the pride flag, but changed any of the other American flags in the game to any other flag, communist, Confederate flag, BLM, thin blue line, or anything else, would you have come out swinging? Or is it just the fact that the pride flag was modded and you can't have that because you're all about inclusivity and diversity, even though that inclusivity and diversity is only as skin deep as the people defending what you're doing are? So there it is. There it fucking is. All right. Until Nexus Mods clarifies that, I don't believe a damn word they fucking say when they're talking about inclusivity and diversity in this case. But it is what it is. It is what it is, and the gamer proved that they are just as stupid as ever before. There it is. So, it's a mod. It's a mod. Apparently, he just changed the textures to the Middle East textures. Then why do you care that change it? Yeah. Why do they care? It's a mod, and as mods go, for those who have played PC games or do play PC games, no, you don't have to use them. You don't have to fucking use them. But now Nexus mods has come out swinging because someone just changed the pride flags to American flags. God fucking forbid. Yeah, which I don't know what Stacey's smoking. Her and Jade King. Her and Jade King are just fuck all. There it is. So let's end on a positive note. I gotta get off that shit. Let's end on a positive note. I'm gonna go find the bounty in the comics article about Ghost of Tsushima. I mean, it's not a definite necessarily, but the fact that the director wants to do this of the game, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. If it's done with respect, I'm all fucking for it. But here it is. Let's just end a little bit on a positive note. Alright. So, Ghost of Tsushima director wants to film live-action adaptation in Japanese with all Japanese cast. I'll read subtitles all day. This is the same game that went up against Last of Us Part 2 and actually release the numbers, which Naughty Dog has yet to do for Last of Us 2. The actual numbers for legitimate sales, like not sales to game stores or anything like that. No, but actual sales to gamers, and also including the returns. All right, also including the returns. But here it is. Now I played Ghost of Tsushima. I played it all the way through, up to the end. It's one of the best games I've played. Period. All Japanese characters. It's set in feudal Japan. All Japanese characters. And it was proof. It was proof that as long as the characters are good, it doesn't matter where they're from. It doesn't matter where they're from as long as the characters are good and the main character is male. You can't change the main character. You can't create your own character. You can't choose to play as like another one. So if you wanted to play as a female, you couldn't. You were, when I say relegated, I don't mean that as a negative, but you were basically relegated in playing, right, a male lead. And guess what? No one cared. No one cared because he was a good character. So the director of Ghost of Tsushima live-action film is aiming for an all-Japanese cast and Japanese dialogue, relying on English subtitles that make the movie more accessible for Western audiences. And Sony seems to be on board with the filmmakers' initiative. All right? So Sony announced a live-action film adaptation of Ghost of Tsushima back in March 2021, directed by Chad Stahelski. Okay, now I'm even more on board because he's of the John Wick series. All right? Now, if there's anyone I trust, particularly filming action sequences, it's this dude right here. It's this dude right here. Speaking to Collider, he explained why he took on the film. Honestly, it's probably the same things that would scare the shit out of most people. It's a fantasy period piece. It's done with reverence to Akira Kurosawa, who's probably in the top 5 biggest influences of my life as far as film goes, he explained, praising the famed Japanese filmmaker. It's a chance to push technology and people in a story that's timeless. It's your typical mythological story of good versus evil, finding a man, watching him change the world, or the world changes him. It's all the Joseph Campbell stuff that you'd love in a story. You put that in with, obviously, so I'm told I have a bit of samurai fetish, which is probably true from manga and anime and stuff. Okay? So I think if we did this right, it would be visually stunning. It's character-driven. It's got an opportunity for great action, great looks, and honestly, we'd have to try to do it all in character. Meaning it's a Japanese thing about the Mongols invading Tsushima Island. He then revealed this meant he wanted a complete Japanese cast in Japanese. Sony is so on board with backing us on that. I've been going to Japan since I was 16. I have a love of the country, love of the people, love of the language. To try to direct not only in my language, but someone else's, and culturally shift my mindset to bring apart that in a cool way that still entices a Western audience. Okay, despite the success of foreign language shows such as Parasite and Squid Game, Collider highlighted and asked Stahelski about subtitled films and shows, lack of box office success. I thought about that a lot, what you're talking about, he admitted before seemingly going off topic. If you come into my offices in Manhattan Beach, I have an entire walls and hallways of frames from the best silent films of all time. Fatty Arbuckle to Buster Keaton to Charlie Chaplin to the Keystone Cops. I'm liking this guy a lot fucking more. Look, I believe in that. I believe that's why Jackie Chan was successful, is you didn't have to speak Cantonese or Mandarin to get him. You saw it on his face, he elaborated. The director insisted, there's a way to direct actors, there's a way to do it where you can look, where a look can mean a look, which can mean a look, which can mean there are a lot of ways to do it. So part of the challenge is not to jump over your question, but I think there's a way to do it. And a way to direct the cast and a way to mellow, dramatically enhance facial performance. So if I turn the sound off, I want you to know what the scene is about in whatever language. Collider then inquired about the challenges he may face and how he hopes to keep Sony's trust in him. No one is going to give me $200 million to do a technology push movie without speaking English. I get it, he confessed. So I had to be clever and I had to figure out what's fiduciarily responsible to the property, to the studio, and still get what I want out of it and still make it something epic. Again, big challenge, man. And we're entering a time where I think that I'm like you, man. I'll read subtitles all day. And I think America in general, or at least the Western audiences in general, are getting more and more used to that because of the influence of Netflix and streamers and stuff, where we get so much more of the world content. Will they show up in the theaters for that? I'm banking on yes. If everything else is there, I think it could hurt me or hurt the property if you're failing a little less in each. Visually, it's not great. The action is okay. The story is not clear. Look, if I nail all the other bits, I think I can inspire you enough to get in the car and go to the theater. All right, I'm liking this guy more and more. I mean, I already liked him because I love the John Wick movies, but the fact that he's like, yes, he's saying that he wants to do an all Japanese cast. He wants it to be in subtitles, but at the same time, you know, for those of you who like to accuse us of like calling everything woke or anything like that, in this case, it makes fucking sense. It makes fucking sense because you'd want a Japanese cast because the game itself is set in feudal Japan. You're not going to have white characters. You're not going to have black characters. You're going to have Japanese characters. And we're fine with that. And for the most part, most people are actually fine with subtitles. If you actually act like anime fans and so forth, Puritans aside, things like that, most generally prefer subs to dubs. And sometimes subs are better than dubs, and I would admit that, because the dubs themselves are kind of like, cringe with the voice casting and so forth. All right? I'm not saying that one is necessarily superior over the other, but for the most part, the preference is there for subtitles. So you have Western audiences literally, in that regard, already adept to reading subtitles. And you actually show reverence to the game, to the culture, and like, if you're true to your word about being an Akira Kurosawa fan, reflect that in the final product. I'm fine. I already like this dude because I like the John Wick movies, and he's shown that, yes, he's a stuntman background, but he sure is fucking direct action shots really fucking well, to the point where there are no quick cuts or anything like that. It's like fluid. So I'm looking forward to that. There's no two black people in Tsushima, and that's okay. Yeah. Hero has subtitles, and I like, yeah. Hero also has subtitles. It's one of the best movies out there. Not just like subtitled or Asian or anything like that. One of the best movies with Jet Li. And if you think about it, the plot itself is basic, but it's like it has a twist to it where you're like, holy shit, that's good. And the action scenes are just chef's kiss, pretty much. But anyway, so there it is. That movie was announced a while ago. And it seems like it's moving forward. And I'm on board with this. Now, those things could change if the trailer comes out and we're like, what the fuck is this? But I'm more on the optimistic side. Particularly with Chad Stahelski and how he's approaching this, like this, directing the live adaptation of Ghost of Tsushima. So I'm ready for it. But thank you all for hanging out with me. Going over a little bit over an hour. I'm fine with that. I had a video drop about 10 minutes prior, so if you can all check that out, I appreciate it, on my main channel. The Rings of Power showrunners are again demonstrating they have no understanding of Tolkien, because they are using Rings of Power to hold a mirror to real world problems, contemporizing J.R.R. Tolkien for this series, pretty much. So yeah, that's what we want to see in a fantasy series. Real world issues. There it is. So, this is going to be, like I said, most Fridays, depending on my schedule. But I figure like every Friday about this same time, I will be going live for a solo stream on my new live channel. And I appreciate the compliments. Trey says, "Pog stream." Mr. Bentham says, "Great stream." Again, thank you all for hanging out with me. I'm going to be building up this channel slowly but surely, and doing most of my live streams over here from this point forward. The only exception would be Talk Nerdy to Us every Saturday. That will remain on my main channel. But for the most part, any live stream I do, whether it's Cringe Factory, Top 10 discussions, solo streams, or anything else that I might be live streaming on, will be done over here. So I appreciate all the subs. I appreciate the support in building up this channel. So, yes, I'll be here later on in the evening, Jade_Fire. If everything goes to plan, I'll be playing Sea of Thieves with Wicked and Mando about 7:30 p.m. Eastern. So thank you, Jacob. Thank you all for hanging out with me. If you could all check out my latest video, again, it'd be much appreciated. Share it on Twitter if you have a Twitter account. Also appreciate that. And tune in every Friday about this time, 3 p.m. Eastern, thereabouts, for some more down and nerdy discussions and so forth. So take care. Have a good rest of your day or evening, depending on where you are in the world. And I will see you all next week. Peace out.
You're still here? It's over. Go home.